Okay, now we're going to look at break-even analysis, and it's a lot of fun. So it's also very concrete. There's not a lot of things that are left hanging out there, so you'll enjoy this. Break-even analysis is where you determine where your quantity of output versus the quantity of cost is 0. It says where you are going to break even as far as the number of units you've put out and the amount of cost you've put into it. So your EBIT or EBIT is equal to 0. And it can be calculated in units or it can be calculated in dollars, whichever. And it's a neat little calculation. Now you have to remember, remember it has limitations. It's very short term, so you're only going to use it for a benchmark, okay? So you're going to determine the quantity of output that must be sold to cover all operating expenses. So you're looking at fixed cost. Operating expenses are usually fixed cost. And to calculate the EBIT that will be achieved at various output levels. So you can play with this. You can do what-ifs, scenarios. So it's a really handy item to have, or tool. So the elements of a break-even model are fixed cost, variable cost. You have to have total revenue or total predicted revenue, and the volume that you believe that you might be able to sustain. So the break-even model requires you to put your cost into 2 different categories, and this is an awful lot like cost accounting. It should look very familiar to folks who have taken managerial accounting. You're going to put your fixed cost or your indirect cost in one category and your variable cost or direct cost in another category. So you have to remember, okay, everything's variable to a certain extent, so all things are relative. This is a very short-run concept. It's very limited in its vision. So be aware of that. So what are fixed or indirect costs? These are costs that aren't going to vary no matter what your sales volume is. If your production volume increases, your fixed cost, okay, per unit falls, but they stay the same overall. They can vary per unit, but they'll remain fixed in total. Let's look at some examples of it. I think that may help explain it better. You have administrative salaries. Those are going to be the same no matter what to a certain level. Depreciation, insurance, advertising programs, property taxes, rent, things of that nature that are, you know what they're going to be from month to month. So now let's contrast that to your direct costs. Okay, direct labor, direct materials, energy costs, okay, going up and down. The more you use, the more energy you use, correct? That's associated with production. Freight costs increase the more you have materials come in. Packaging and sales commissions could be included in direct costs in this situation. Now you'll remember, though, there are times in managerial where sales commissions are not included in direct costs. But in this case, they would be because there's a direct tie. The more you sell, depending on the incentive, okay, the more you sell, the higher those sales commissions would become. So this is kind of a very nice graph as you look at it. Variable costs go up, fixed costs stay the same, total costs slightly go up. And this so this is your benchmark that you want to cover to get your break-even point. And as your variable costs go up, your total costs go up also, but the fixed stay the same. So we have to look at revenue, and revenue is going to be the selling price per unit times the quantity sold. We're going to look at volume. How many can you put out? What's the level of operations you can handle? we're going to look at the break-even point, which is the point at which EBIT equals 0. And EBIT is defined in this case as sales price per unit times the units sold minus the variable cost times the units sold plus the total cost. That's EBIT, and you want that to be 0 to find your break-even point. And here are your formulas. They're really very simple. You're going to have total fixed costs. You're going to take the unit sales price and subtract the unit variable cost. Divide that into the fixed cost. That will give you the break-even units. Or to look at it from another sense, you could do it in dollars. I think the units is, to me, is much, reveals more and helps me look at volume and how much I have to put out to be able to get to that EBIT point of 0. But you can do it in dollars, and you take total fixed costs, and then you take 1 minus the variable cost divided by the sales price, and divide that into total cost, and then that will give you the dollar amount. Isn't that fun? Here's an example. We're selling some widget for $12. The variable cost is $6. The fixed costs are $120. So in units, what have I got? I've got $120 fixed, and I'm going to divide that by 12 minus 6, and that gives me, I have to sell 20,000 units to break even. At that point, I break even. I'm good. You can do the same thing with the dollars. It's 120,000. Minus the divided by 1 minus 6/12, or 0.5, so it comes up to $240,000 in dollars, in the break-even dollars. So very easy calculation. Here's just another example of an income statement. And this is just showing you the same thing here. And here's another example of how it lays out. So have fun with this one. I think this is a very good concept to have in mind. Again, I remind you, it does have limitations, but it does give you a lot, many tools, okay, to use for what ifs. So I think I'll wrap this up. Thank you.